committee in the new term, which will be in November. As I mentioned in my introductory comments, if it's a major decision, can't imagine what that might be, but it's potentially possible that a major decision would have to be made. Then there is provision to call an extraordinary meeting of the governing body, albeit in the middle of an election campaign, which you probably wouldn't welcome, but if it was necessary, I'm sure we'd all do it. Does that answer your question, Councillor?
It does, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, that's the end of comments. So I'll put the resolutions as set out in front of you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. I declare that carried. Item number 14 is the Local Government New Zealand Conference report. It is in the name of Councillor Pipacoombe, so I'm going to ask her to move that we receive the report and Deputy Mayor Bill Cashmore to second that. We had a number of councillors that attended that. That did not include the Mayor, so there's a comment somewhere that the Mayor attended, which is not correct, so we shall strike that from the record. But if there's any, we had Al Filipina, who chaired the first day of the conference for the Maori members, and Councillor Richard Hills and Councillor Angela Dalton, I think, was ill but attended online. So any councillor that attended is welcome to comment should they wish to. But if I can ask Pipacoombe and Bill Cashmore to move and second that, and Councillor Coombe just to speak briefly to the item. Briefly.
I would be delighted to speak to my homework, and I'm not sure I can make it completely brief because there's a little bit of an intro I'd like to do, Mr. Mayor, if that's all right with you.
Yep, the clock is ticking, so please get on with it.
And I'm also happy to answer questions and reply as well, if that's necessary. So I just, by way of introduction, just want to acknowledge that we as Auckland Council have been in Auckland Zone for LGNZ for the first time on this term. And we have Auckland Zone meetings that are co-chaired by myself and Member Northey. And this is really the only opportunity to kind of report back to the governing body on the Auckland Zone. And just to note that all elected members are invited to the Auckland Zone meetings that are held quarterly and always receive an update from LGNZ President and CEO. And they're very informative and very good briefings. And I'm hoping that going into next term there might be more participation in those Auckland Zone meetings, because it's a really good way that we can engage with the sector and understand what LGNZ is up to on our behalf. For me, this has also been my full term as being a representative on National Council. I was previously as the local board representative, but didn't have voting rights, and that only changed with a change to the Constitution, that there's also a local board representative. But it's been a real pleasure that I've been able to serve on the National Council for this term of National Council of LGNZ of this term. I do think LGNZ has been working really tirelessly on behalf of the sector. President Stuart Crosby and CEO Susan Freeman-Green, who only arrived a couple of years ago and was really thrown into the deep end straight away with the extent of the government reforms that were on the agenda, which I'm sure everybody's very familiar with. LGNZ's also been under the spotlight in terms of, are we getting value for money? Are they advocating on behalf of the sector? And of course, when you're representing, I think it's 73 councils that we have across the country, it's a very difficult job to be balancing all of those interests and all of those points of view. But I think we get, I'm obviously biased, but I think we do get tremendous value for money from our membership of LGNZ and having a sector representation based in Wellington, speaking on behalf of the whole local government sector. I think it's also beneficial to our staff, because I know there's a lot of cross-fertilisation and learning opportunities for staff as well with LGNZ and the staff sector body, Tira. What did it used to be called? Solgum. They very wisely had a name change to something a little bit more elegant than Solgum. And I just also wanted to mention too that in terms of the accessibility of LGNZ, because I think with Auckland Council, you know, we're kind of a large, mean beast and we can do a lot of our advocacy by ourselves. We don't necessarily need to go through LGNZ or rely on their resources. Is that one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that the move to a lot of online meetings and just the ability to engage on forums, join meetings, participate in professional development has all moved online, and that's been really beneficial. And I think especially for local board members have had a lot more awareness, and we're all invited to those Zooms and learning opportunities, and I think we'll see more of that going into next term. So I did just want, that was just a little bit of, I just wanted to be able to use this opportunity, Mr Mayor, to just make those comments with regards to the term that we've just had as an Auckland zone, because I do think that that's kind of significant, and we should acknowledge, you know, the fact that we are a member. We do contribute, you know, a substantial amount of our membership. We're a third of the country, so, you know, I didn't think it should go without commenting that, taking this opportunity to comment on the work of the Auckland Zone and LGNZ and what they're doing on our behalf. So that brings me now to the conference report that I'm really pleased to be able to speak on behalf of those who are attending, and I hope that there might be additional comments to make as well. It was a very small deputation that attended the conference because of budget constraints and Councillor Dalton having to attend online, unfortunately, at the last minute. But at least you're able to be there online, which is another, you know, great technological leap that we've been able to make with the conference. In the report, and I'm sorry, Mr Mayor, if it does say that you were there, I haven't been able to find that reference, but wasn't my intention to wrongly attribute.
Oh, it's on the second page still. The Mayor, Deputy Mayor and 3 councillors attended.
Oh, oops, that was my using the template from last time. Sorry, my mistake, not picking that up. So I always find the conference a really fantastic experience in terms of being able to network across the country, being able to kind of lift up my eyes a bit to see what's going on in different councils, and really understanding that we share a lot of the same challenges, and it's really beneficial to be able to talk to elected representatives from very different councils and part of the country, but there's a lot of shared experiences and a lot of ability to be able to learn from each other. So there's the networking side, and then there's also the presentations that are received at the conference. Was a really fantastic range of speakers. Although I say in the report that 3 waters kind of dominated the conference, in some ways it was kind of not actually the main focus of the conference. Yes, that was a kind of a bit of a lightning rod for the protesters that were there every day and wanted to be able to protest the Minister of Local Government and the Prime Minister. But actually, despite 3 waters, it was actually a lot of much wider debate on a whole range of issues, and particularly on the theme of the conference, Te Wā Heke Mai, the future. And that's what we're all really focused on. I really like the words of the Minister of Local Government, who was talking about that if we live the 4 well-beings, that if we have that tikanga framework to guide the conversation, it can be really liberating about how we treat each other. And that to make decisions for the future, we really need to have to think about that as being good ancestors. And I think that was kind of a theme that really went through a lot of the conference speakers, particularly because there are a lot of reforms coming, and it is a very tumultuous time in local government, a lot of pressures on the sector, particularly coming from because of the misinformation campaigns that we've been experiencing, experiencing. And when words like co-governance get thrown around as something that is very negative, when in fact recognising our obligations as Tiriti partnership is really based on relationships, and there's a whole lot of really fantastic things that are coming from co-governance. And I've just experienced that in myself, being able to be the inaugural co-chair with Nicola MacDonald on the Hauraki Golf Forum, that co-governance leadership has really transformed the Hauraki Golf Forum. And I just wanted to, in kind of wrapping up about the conference, I just wanted to acknowledge too that the sector is really changing. When I first went to conference I think my first one was in 2012, it really had the vibe of an old boys club and an old girls club in some parts. You know, it was kind of all the provincial mayors getting together for a good time. I've got a bit of a soundtrack of the deputy mayor here, but he's removing his device. The audio's come on. And, you know, it was very noticeable that LG&Z, local government, just didn't know what to do with local boards either, and the new governance framework of Tamaki Makaurau. And it's just been fantastic to see the change in the sector, and also the way in which LG&Z and the conference really embraced the differences that we now have in representation, and that we're far more reflecting the communities that we wish to represent. And no more is that seen in terms of Māori representation and participation. And I was really fortunate to be able to attend Te Maruata, the hui, the day before the conference. And I understand it wasn't even that long ago that it might be sort of a half a dozen people or a dozen people in a room getting together, Māori representatives. And now that's a hui of over 150 people. And it's just fantastic, the conversation there. And the debate and the reflections on Māori participation and the benefits that it's bringing all communities. And one thing we're going to really see, and this ties into the item that we had on the local government electoral legislation bill, is that 35 councils will have Māori wards next triennium, and that's going to bring in 50 new Māori representatives across the motu, and that is just amazing. And so that I think is really going to change the dynamic of local government. Also, another change has been the young elected member participation, and they laid a bit of a weru down to us at the conference in their fantastic presentation, and I'm sure Councillor Hills would like to talk about the Yem Hui that was held as part of the conference as well. So really great participation across the conference. And just finally, I also want to acknowledge the Minister for Local Government, who prior to her taking up that role, I think there were about 5 ministers in 9 years in local government who just travelled through. They didn't really want it as a portfolio, whereas Minister Nanaya is just amazing about her commitment to the sector, to local government, and she actually wanted the role when she was re-elected in 2020. So we're really fortunate to have a minister who is so focused and dedicated and willing to be at the conference for the whole 3 days. And I think she takes a lot of strength as well away from being around local government and sharing our kaupapa. So it's all there in the report as well. It's a very kind of brief report because we all take different things from it, from those who attend. But looking ahead, I hope that there can be greater participation and funding made available, because it is a great learning experience. And I just want to say, I will end, that I've got a new appreciation for Pāmi now that I was able to spend 4 days there. I'd never spent 4 days in Pāmi before, and just a lot of fantastic things there, and I was able to take part on the cultural walking tour, and just learnt a huge amount, particularly around with the host iwi, Rangatani, who were also there for the whole conference, which is a new experience for the conference. So really pleased that I was able to attend. I'm really delighted that I've been able to be on National Council for the last 3 years, and thank my colleagues for that opportunity, and really do commend this report to everybody. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for your humouring me with a bit more of a longer introduction than you were anticipating.
Yep, 13 minutes, councillor. Look, thank you for that, and if I can thank Pippa and those delegates that attended, but also the councillors that have been part of the last 3 years and made contributions in different aspects of local government New Zealand, and including the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Richard Hills. From a local board level, I have to mention Member Richard Northey as well. I have no questions, but is there any comment that anybody else wants to make regarding the conference? It's a fairly full report, and I just want to comment on our local board member from Franklin, Logan Sewell, who some of you will know. Logan's just a tremendous young guy, first term on council. I think he got elected at 19, and he was won the Young Elected Member of the Year award for the absolutely tremendous effort that he made during the COVID period and the vaccination process. So great to see young people like Logan coming forward, because they represent the future of the council. Right, I have no indications of comments. Going to do Alf's 3-second rule, and we'll therefore put the recommendation that we receive the report with thanks. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. I declare that carried. Item number 15, I think we're at, the summary of governing body information memoranda, workshops and briefings, an information only report. Councillor Young, can I ask you to move that, and Councillor Dalton maybe to second it. If there's no comments or questions, I'll put the motion that we note progress on the note the progress on the forward work program. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. Carried. Item number 16 is referral from the Appointments and Performance Review Committee regarding the update on the Chief Executive's performance objectives for the last financial year. This is an open process report, so I'll move and ask Councillor Fletcher to second this, and the wider discussion will be held.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor. Wider discussion will obviously be held in confidential. If there are no questions and comments, I'll put the motion that that we receive the report, I think, is the notion. I'm going so fast, I'm getting ahead of myself. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. Carried. Item number 17 is consideration of extraordinary items. There are none. So I'll move now to the procedural motion to exclude the public on two items, one relating to the FIFA Women's World Cup and the other relating to the Chief Executive's performance. These are being discussed under confidential because in relation to the former, that if made public it may affect adversely the Council's position in current negotiations, and the latter because it will contain information that will need to be confidential until released to the New Zealand Stock Exchange on the 30th of September. So I'll ask Deputy Mayor to second that we move into confidential. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. I declare that carried. Members, you need to sign out and come back under the confidential link, so I'll just take a 5-minute break.